Hello everyone. Today's session is about native Active Directory user support with CentreStack, which is the Gladinet Cloud Enterprise, and SwiftStack. So both systems support Active Directory users natively, and then how the two systems combined together can support the Active Directory users in a native way. So to get started, first of all, we need to create a tenant. The Active Directory integration in the CentreStack is on a per tenant basis, or if you are an enterprise package, the whole enterprise is one single tenant. So let's create a tenant first, because CentreStack is capable of a hierarchy of multiple tenants in the same system if it's the service provider package. So the enterprise package is like a special case for the multi-tenant here. So let's create a tenant, because tenant is the smallest unit you can have Active Directory integration. So let's set up the tenant and set it to have 30 users. And now we need to connect to SwiftStack, and the endpoint will be from the screen here, the access endpoint. So let's just put it there, and then we have a SwiftStack user. Let's call it tenant 18. So we are going to connect to the tenant 18. So we are not touching the Active Directory user yet. Tenant 18 is just a native SwiftStack user. So now this is interesting, right? So allow users to use Active Directory credentials. So what this does is it will enable an option in the user creation wizard, right? Because the system is capable of supporting different kind of storage services, right? Including the local file server. So having Active Directory integration may not apply to all the cases. So now the tenant has been created. So now let's log in. So we haven't touched Active Directory yet, but we are just doing setup work to set up the tenant first, because Active Directory is a per tenant concept here. So we have files and folders. That's fine. So these files and folders are in tenant 18's SwiftStack account. So let's just upload a few of the files and making sure it's everything is connected. So we just upload a file over the web portal. And then now let's go back to Swift web client web interface. You can see the file has been created and created under the tenant 18, which is a native Swift user. So we're about to touch the Active Directory now, right? When everything is set up, the tenant is ready. The tenant is mapped to a common area, right? So and now let's get ready to start the Active Directory integration. So there's some prerequisites. So in the SwiftStack, you first of all, you need to enable the LDAP Active Directory integration, and then this is where the Active Directory server is, and need to pick a user search filter. So we are using the same account name, which is the pre-Windows 2000 logon name, the short formed Windows logon name. So now the SwiftStack side of the Active Directory was set up. So now that's the Gladinet Cloud Enterprise side. So let's do the same thing. We need to connect to the Active Directory, and we need to provide a user who is capable of query into the Active Directory. So typically this will be a service account. So we just use a admin account for demo purpose. The friendly domain name is the domain's name, as you would know, in like a human way, not the IP address kind of way. So typically, you can see the friendly domain name in the tool, and you can see we click "Don't allow user auto creation." So typically, when you have a lot of users, you want to control the pace of deployment. You don't want user to just go to the web portal and self-register. So now everything's all set. Both system here got the Active Directory connected. So now let's go to the Active Directory server and As you can see here, that's the friendly domain name. So let's go ahead and create a new Active Directory user. So we call it T18E1. So tenant number 18 and employee number 1. So the same account name is T18E1, the pre and Windows 2000 logon name. So now let's create a set of credentials for this new user, new Active Directory user. So finish. All right, so now let's go to CentreStack first. Because we disallowed the user auto creation, right? So the user has to be explicitly imported. And then for now, we are just doing the import the user over web portal. It's easier. And then for large enterprise, you can also do it over PowerShell. So what we are going to do is we're going to create a user, and as you can see here, focus on the last line. This user has OpenStack storage tied to his Active Directory credential. So this applies to the LDAP setting we set a while ago in the SwiftStack management portal. So now this user is Active Directory user is imported, right? So we don't allow auto creation, so the user has to be explicitly created. So now that's all set. Let's give it a try. So we log in as T18E1, tenant 18, employee number 1. And this will be the Active Directory user credential. So let's log in. Okay, so it doesn't have any files and folders. That's fine. So let's go over and drag and drop some files into it. So let's find some files, which is kind of easier to recognize. Drag and drop over. All right, the files showed up. Let's create a folder. Make it something easier to understand. So later on, we're going to find this folder in the Swift interface. So so we want to make some character strings that's easy to recognize, right? So I'm a folder created from CentreStack. So now let's just upload the file to it. Drag and drop. That's done. All right. So let's check. So let's go over to SwiftStack and let's log out. So we never log in as tenant 18 employee number 1. In SwiftStack, you can just log in. You don't have to explicitly create an Active Directory user. So just log in. And magically, you see this home drive showed up. And under the home drive, there's hello, I'm a folder created from CentreStack, right? Just by looking at this, you know that the user from CentreStack has the backing of the SwiftStack, and then both accounts are using native Active Directory user. So let's do a quick review of what we have done. So in SwiftStack, we turned on the LDAP integration, and we set the the parameters for the user to log on to SwiftStack. And in CentreStack, we can compare them, right? We can compare the settings. So first of all, the Active Directory needs to be set up on both systems and needs to be set up in a way they point to the same Active Directory, right? So if you compare on the left, that's SwiftStack. It's pointing to the server URI. On the right-hand side, that's Gladinet Cloud Enterprise. It's pointing to the same address, right? So there needs to be a search. It's called a search user. We say, a username who can search into the LDAP, right? Active Directory. The friendly domain name in CentreStack, and then in SwiftStack, it's in a distinguished name format, common name format, and then in CentreStack, it's just a dot format, right? A domain name kind of format. But either way, the terminologies and the format may look different, but the idea is the same. Connect to the same Active Directory, right? So so now that's log in as a the user and then compare. So we compare the Active Directory setup, and then now let's compare the what the users, like, what the users experience, right? So if you are just a normal Active Directory user, not the admin user, what's your user experience, right? So you can just see files and folders, right? And then later on, you can have the mobile access, you can have PC, Mac, you can have different kind of front-end devices to connect to SwiftStack, right? So SwiftStack can take care of the backend storage, the scalability, the redundancy, and all that, and CentreStack can take care of the front-end devices. Thank you.